Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be doing my first pregnancy Q&A, so it's probably going to be more related to first trimester. Basically, I'm going to be answering some questions that you left me on my announcement video, and then on Instagram I did 2 question boxes, so I'm going to be working through those because I answered some of them on Instagram, but in stories it's a little bit harder to get my full thought across, so I thought that I'd do that in a full YouTube Q&A. I'm waiting for my food to come. Literally says he'll be here in 1 minute. At Uber Eats, what's the past tense of Uber Eats? I use Uber Eats to order red papaya, which is a local restaurant in Guelph. I've been craving tom yum soup for last week. I ordered it by chance when I wanted to try this restaurant out, and literally every morning I wake up and I'm I need some. So I ordered that. I'll show you what I ordered. Essentially, this is going to be a mukbang. I hope I'm saying that right. Someone messaged me saying that I was saying it wrong before and said it was more of a bong and not bang. So mukbang, hopefully. All right, this is the spread. I have to mix this up. So I got some veggie spring rolls, and this is the tom kha soup, which I believe has the coconut milk because it seems a little bit more opaque than this one. This is the tom yum soup, so essentially same thing, I think, and just milk versus no coconut milk. And then this is the vermicelli, which I think I have to mix a sauce into everything. So let's do that. And I put the noodles in an actual bowl because the cardboard box was flipping up and kind of messing up the screen. So I forget, there's a way to put chopsticks that is rude and I can't remember right now. So for any of my Asian followers, I'm sorry if this is the wrong way. I just felt like this wouldn't be the right way. So we're gonna put it back like this. So I am going to start off with the tom kha soup because I haven't tried it before and I was very curious. That's why I ordered both in case I didn't like this one. And I still really craved my tom yum soup. That's one thing with my pregnancy. If I eat something that isn't right, so I'm craving tom yum soup, but if I wanted to try something else and it isn't what my body was expecting, then I'll feel sick. So I always have to have a backup if it's something new. But we're gonna start off with some questions. I'm going to open up my latest, the pregnancy announcement video, because there were 2 questions there that I think I want to address. Or maybe I can do it on YouTube Studio. First of all, thank you for all the congratulations. It means so much that I can share this with you guys now. It was just really hard. I know my family knew and some of my friends knew, but it's just not the same because I share everything on social media. So, or a lot of it. So having that huge part of my life hidden, I just felt like I didn't even want to be on social media as much because it's just why am I not able to share the most exciting part of my life right now? But one of the ones I wanted to address was, have you considered a midwife? My sister lives in Guelph as well and had such a wonderful experience. So that's something I actually haven't had a chance to explore. I don't even know what a midwife really is. Do I have a midwife and an OB, or do I have to choose a midwife or an OB? And then also, is it too late? I wanted to ask you guys this question before, but I couldn't because I was too early to share. The soup is spicy, so my nose is gonna run just a little bit. So congratulations, questions here. Did you feel pregnant right away, or how long did it take you to realize? So I normally get pre-period cramps, but this time I got them pretty early. So basically, the first symptoms would have started in September because that's when we conceived. I was getting these ghost cramps, which I was oh, okay, that means my period's coming soon. Not really thinking that it's basically a week earlier than I would have probably started getting any ghost cramps. So I only noticed it after the fact that I knew I was pregnant, thinking back on all the possible symptoms. Those are called implantation cramps, apparently. It's kind of like what this fertilized egg is implanting into your uterus, so you sometimes get cramps from those. I got those cramps for a while, but they're so little compared to my actual period cramps because I get really bad ones. So that was one symptom. Second symptom was my crazy dreams. I was just getting these super vivid dreams that I just never got before. Sometimes you get the same dreams over and over again, and they're not you don't wake up crying and you don't wake up terrified, and I was getting those. So that's another one because I was reading, I think we have the Mayo Clinic book, so some of these symptoms showed up in there after, and I was oh, okay, I had them. And then that was about it. Those were the only 2 really symptoms until I was further along, and then I started getting nauseous. Guys, the soup is so good. Literally wish I could have a giant pot of this, but I looked at the recipe and I feel like there's just so many different ingredients that I need for this that like I feel like I can't get at my local grocery store. Like bamboo shoots, lemongrass, and I don't know, just like a whole bunch of other things that I feel like would be more expensive to actually make than just to order. Can you please share your doctor's visit experience? So my first one was really like chill. I think I was about 6 weeks or a little bit after that. It was just like to check my blood pressure, check my weight, like check my family history. So she literally just like asked me a bunch of questions and I asked her a bunch of questions, and that was it. Like she didn't check my belly because you don't really hear the heartbeat until I think after 7 weeks, I think, or way after that, 12 weeks. It's a while. So like she couldn't do anything. So it was kind of just like a regular doctor's visit by myself. But it was like cool to actually meet the OB, made it feel like official that like, yeah, like you actually have a baby, here's your doctor for the baby and for the pregnancy. So there you go. That was it. It wasn't too exciting. And also I feel like it depends on your doctor, right? Like, and where you are. Like my OB doesn't have like the ultrasound in her office. Like we have to go to a separate clinic to get ultrasounds. Like I go to a place in Cambridge because like Wealth ultrasound places are like packed. Like I called and they like couldn't even take me until like I think end of November or something. So I started going to a place in Cambridge, which apparently is like a better one anyways, because they like take their time and they're a little bit like nicer apparently. So that's probably why my first appointment wasn't as exciting. And like my appointments after that was basically reviewing results. Like she called me for, I think, my second appointment technically to tell me like my official due date, because after our first appointment, I went to the ultrasound and it was like a dating ultrasound. So just to like confirm how far along I was. So that's why in like the previous video, I said like I jumped a week because I was a week further along than we had thought. I guess I miscalculated when my last period was, or just like didn't know like when I actually ovulated. Anyways, that was the like second call appointment. And then I had a third call because I basically had to book our 10-week DNA test. We decided to do a DNA test for a baby, which is like a more accurate version of the 12-week screening ultrasound. So essentially it's to check for like chromosomal disorders, and you can get the sex of the baby because they're like doing your chromosomes. So you can see if it's XX or XY. So we do know the sex of the baby. Don't know if I'm sharing it yet. That, and then we needed to book I needed to get the requisition for the 12-week ultrasound, which I needed to book like ASAP because like the first time I was at the appointment, I was already, I think like almost 10 weeks. I was like 9 weeks. No, I was 10 weeks. And the ultrasound tech was like, do you have your rec already? Like you need to book your 12-week ultrasound because like you're there and we're not taking appointments like within the next couple weeks. So I was like freaking out, calling the OB being like, hey, like, can you please give me a rack? But I couldn't get a hold of her, and then finally did. So third appointment was just to get like requisitions for these tests and the ultrasound. Their spring rolls are so good. It's like the perfect crunch and like not too salty inside. Sorry, where was I? And then the third appointment was to go over, well, it wasn't an appointment, like she called me for the results of the DNA test. A little annoyed though because it took her a week to call me, because I was able to call Life Labs and be like, hey, like, do you have the results? And I knew they had the results for like over a week and they never called me. And these are tests that I paid, or like we paid for, like we paid like $800 for this test. It's an optional test, right? So normally in your pregnancy, you would get your 12-week screening test, which is like to do measurements for the neck, measurements of the baby, and like you put it into an equation essentially, and then they like give you the probability of like chromosomal disorders, stuff like Down syndrome and like trisomy disorders, which are like pretty serious disorders. So basically the DNA test is like 99% accurate, and then the 12-week screening isn't as accurate. So we're really lucky that we were in the position to be able to pay for the test, and so we did that. And I was like, if I'm paying like for this test, it should technically be like I should get the results when they're available, right? But it took her over a week to get them to me, so I was a little bit annoyed because at that point, like, you don't know too much about your baby, and like that definitely impacted like how well I was sleeping, because like ever since like we found out the sex and all the test results, I just like felt so much better. I could like really, I didn't wake up in the middle of the night as much anymore, and I just like I could tell subconsciously I was less stressed, even though I didn't feel that stressed. Consciously, I didn't feel that stressed, but after finding these results, I realized how stressed I was subconsciously, if that makes sense. She called me like on a Friday telling me the results were all good, so we were able to tell like the rest of the family, and then that was like the weekend I shared it on Instagram. So just like a lot of things were riding on that result. And so that was, I guess, technically my third appointment. And then that Monday I had my second in-person appointment, which was my fourth appointment. And we just heard the baby's heartbeat. I asked her any more questions. I had been piling up since like the last time I saw her. And then that was it. Like, I feel like there's not much to do in the appointments until like later on, but it's just nice to hear your baby's heartbeat, because at this point, like, I'm not feeling like kicks yet. So it's just like, are you there? Like, are you doing okay? You know? So that's nice, but I'm not seeing her for at least another month. So she said like 6 weeks about. My next ultrasound is like at the 20-week mark. So that's like January 18th, I think I have my appointment for the ultrasound. And then I have an appointment with her like that next week. So it will be a while, but we did ask for like a heartbeat monitor for Christmas just to see if we could check in. So do you see a family doctor or a pregnant specific doctor? How did you find that doctor? So I called my family doctor first when we found out we were pregnant, and she ordered like the requisition for the blood test to confirm that I was pregnant. But I haven't seen her in person because, first of all, she's in Richmond Hill, which is like a very high COVID zone, and I don't need to see her because she's not an OB. So she's like, hey, like, I know you don't want to come to Richmond Hill, so find me an OB, which is like the pregnancy specific doctor in Guelph, and I can send a referral and you can see her there. So I basically Googled OBs in Guelph. I think there's like only 10, and she had a really good review. So I sent that referral and then got to see her. So basically, I think I've seen her like every month, and then I think you start to see them more frequently later on in your pregnancy. I don't know if I can get through all these questions without this video being like an hour long, so we're gonna pick and choose. Some of them I answered on Instagram already, so you might have to follow me there if you want some questions answered. How are you feeling about being pregnant during a pandemic? I mean, I think being pregnant in general is like so uncertain, and there's a lot of scary thoughts that come to, like, with it. But it's such an exciting time because you're growing a human life in your body, and like it's such an exciting time for your family. And I'm really excited, but then also nervous at the same time because it's like my first kid, and I'm like the first one out of my friend group to be pregnant, so I don't have a lot of like experiences to compare it to. And then also on top of that, it being a pandemic, like one of the major things is like doing this more on my own than like I would have ever imagined having to do it, because Travis can't come to any of the appointments, can't really experience this with me. And like I overheard like 2 doctors talking in Guelph, and they're like, right now, like they're not even letting fathers in when the mother is in labor. Like they get to come in like near the end, like when they're actually about to like push, which I'm like, I would be so emotionally traumatized if I had to go through labor alone. So I'm really hoping that by the time that we like are giving birth in June or end of May, basically, that the vaccine has been more successful and like the rules are a little bit more relaxed, because it's just like, sure, I can get over going to appointments alone, but going through actual labor by myself, like it really scares me. So I'm gonna try not to cry, but that's something that I'm quite worried about. How far along are you? This week I am, well, I guess I will be 16 weeks in 2 days on Saturday. So almost, so basically that's 4 months, right? Have you guys already started planning and designing the baby's room? So a couple days ago, we took apart our guest bed in the guest bedroom to start making room and kind of planning out like how we're gonna lay everything out. I have a lot of things on my Pinterest saved, so if you want to follow me on Pinterest, I'll leave the link below. You can see like my home inspo board. There's a section called nursery. I haven't stumbled upon like a lot of inspo pics that I'm loving quite yet, but there's some there, so you guys can get the vibe. Did I get morning sickness? Yes, and I'm so glad that's over. And I like didn't realize like how bad it was until it stopped again. I was like, shoot, am I just being like super dramatic and thinking I'm nauseous? But like literally once it stopped, I'm like, geez, like that was super like uncomfortable for like 2-3 months. So yes, I did. I got it like in the morning for like majority of the beginning, and then for some reason, I forget what week it was, maybe like week 8, it flipped to 6 p.m. nausea. So like literally when Trav would get home and he would be like wanting to cook dinner, I would be like, I don't want to eat right now. I literally, like every time like I looked at the clock, 6 o'clock, I was like nauseous. So I did get morning and night sickness, but I didn't vomit, which I'm very, very happy about, because I know a lot of people actually like vomit a lot, and it causes a lot of issues. So I am grateful, but I did get morning sickness. So how have I been feeling? I've been feeling a lot better. Kind of going off the last question, now that my morning sickness is gone, feel a lot better. This morning though, I like slept in till 11 because I was so tired. So like randomly I will get really tired throughout the day. It's not every day. Like some days I feel pretty normal, but like sometimes I just like can't wake up, and it's just like, I guess whatever the baby's doing there in there that's growing, like maybe last night was just a big night and I just needed to sleep a little bit more. But other than that, I'm feeling pretty good. Body changes are definitely interesting. Just like seeing my belly grow and thinking it's still like bloating or it's just like me eating more, but like having to kind of like be like, no, like this is actually my pregnancy belly like starting to grow, is like something I have to like rearrange my mind to think, because usually, because my body has basically stayed the same for majority of my adult life, so seeing that change kind of strange. And then also a lot of my pants not fitting is like sad but I get it. How long did it take you to conceive, or was it the first try for you guys? So it definitely wasn't our first try. So in the previous video, I feel like I mentioned that we had wanted kids about like a year after getting married, and we were starting to talk about it in March, like basically when COVID first started. We're like, oh, like when should we start trying? But then we're like, you know what, like we don't know where this is gonna go, like why don't we wait a little bit to see like what happens. And then it just like became more apparent that it wasn't really going anywhere, and I didn't really want to keep putting our lives on hold. So I want to say like July, like midsummer, we started like to actually try. And when I mean try, just like I have the Flow app, so like my periods are pretty regular, so like just kind of like trying to hit that like ovulation period. And then I guess it ended up working in September, so it didn't take us too long, which we were like very surprised about, because you just hear all these stories, and so we weren't expecting things to go well for us like that. So very, very thankful, very grateful. Yeah, it took us about a couple months, but I like the luck of the draw, right guys? I don't have any tips for you, unfortunately, because it was our initial phase, so we didn't do anything other than tracking my ovulation like on Flow app. Sorry, I'm just gonna finish the soup because it's getting cold. I'm gonna save the tom yum soup for later. I feel like a little bit of phlegm from the coconut milk. How old am I? I am 28, turning 29 in December 31st, so I will be 29 when I give birth. Don't really know what the significance of that is. I think you can be at any age really for motherhood, but if you guys are curious, I don't mind sharing. Did you always know you want to have kids young? Like I don't, like it's hard because like what is considered young, right? Like I am 29, my husband's going to be 30 by the time he has a kid. So I don't really know if we're considered young, but I can tell you that I didn't think I was gonna have kids or even get married until after I was 30. So my mom, especially like back in the day, so she didn't meet my dad till she was 30 and didn't have me till she was like 31, 32. They got married really quick, because at that point you're like, if we're gonna date, then we're gonna get married. So they've been together for over 30 years, so it worked for them. Anyways, I grew up not thinking that marriage and kids was a thing to think about before I was 30. But Travis kind of grew up a little differently. He's from a smaller town, and for them and his parents, like they got married much younger. So it was like something that was more discussed. And since like we did get married, so we've been dating for, 10 years now? And it just like naturally progressed to where we are now, where like we dated for a long time, we got engaged, we got married, like we had even a year of being a married couple, even though technically like nothing really felt like it changed. And like we're just ready for kids, we're ready for that next chapter, we're ready for our family to grow. So I don't think it's more about the age, it's more about where you feel like you are in your life. Like I felt really good about where I was career-wise, and we have a house where we can comfortably raise a child. So it just happened. Whether or not this is considered young or not, that will be up to you guys. I think I just put spring roll sauce on my eyebrow. Will this be the first grandchild for your parents? Yes, it will be the first grandkid for my parents, for Travis's parents, first great grandchild for my maternal grandmother. So a lot of exciting things. I think that we will have a lot of visitors when the baby comes. Are you experiencing any symptoms or cravings yet? So at this point, I'm 16 weeks, I'm just gonna round it up. I feel like I've had all my first trimester symptoms, which were morning sickness, tiredness, bloatedness. Like that was probably the most uncomfortable. My digestive symptoms were the most uncomfortable part of pregnancy so far. Just felt like anything I ate and I was bloated. Like I couldn't go to the bathroom regularly. I was peeing all the time. I was nauseous. It was just like so uncomfortable down there. It was just like crazy. I just felt like, what can I do to like make this better? But it was just part of like my body getting used to all like these changes in my hormone levels, because the hormone levels affect your digesting rate and it slows it down. And so like it's to be expected, but that was like my most uncomfortable. In terms of cravings, I had so many. I felt like it changed like from week to week. One of like the most consistent ones though was like McDonald's, which was pretty funny because I actually did have a partnership with them like before I found out I was pregnant from basically I think September to like December. So it was hilarious. It was great. I had like a gift card to go like buy my cravings, and I felt like so on brand. So it was great. But I just couldn't be like, I love McDonald's because I'm craving it so much for my pregnancy. But now I can tell you guys, literally Travis would come home and be like, so like what did you get from McDonald's today? And I'd be like, large fry. Like a large fry was like my go-to when I felt nauseous. So like I was just like drove out, got a large fry and got 2 barbecue sauces. And then my go-tos for breakfast was just like the breakfast sandwiches and hash browns, and it was just really good. But I haven't been craving that as much lately. I've been craving more croissants. That's starting to die down now again too. Anyways, what else did I crave? I craved like udon and not chicken noodle soup, but my mom makes like chicken broth and she freezes it for me because I just like, I don't know. I can make my own chicken broth. I just prefer my mom's. So she like made me chicken broth, froze them in like little containers, and then I would like make that in the morning with udon and like pea sprouts and like little pieces, like thin cuts of like beef. And it was like divine. And I had that probably for like 2 weeks straight. It was so good. And then the craving stopped. So it was weird. It just like cravings came and go, but came and went. What are you most looking forward to in motherhood? I am just so excited to meet the kid. Travis and I, like, I mean, obviously, like, we're gonna have a mixed kid, and with mixed kids, you just, like, also just never know what they look like, and I'm very curious to see if, like, I almost spilled the sex. I'm excited to see, like, if it's going to have, like, lighter hair, darker hair. I don't know, like, I'm excited about that, and then also, like, to know their personality, because Travis and I have, like, such different personalities that, I don't know, is it gonna be, like, a mini him or a mini me? Like, I really, like, hope it's not a mini me because I was so colicky when I was a baby. So I'm praying that the baby isn't colicky, but it is and it is. Last couple times I tried to order a main dish from them. Didn't turn out too good. Like their green curry didn't taste like anything. And then I got spicy eggplant, which was like super oily. This isn't bad. So when are you due? I am due June 5th. So we'll see. I feel like people mostly say that your first pregnancy is like late of anything, but like I just am hoping for a healthy baby. Don't really mind when it gets here. Morning sickness tips. Honestly, like I tried eating all the time, like little snacks throughout the day because that's what most people say to do, and I found that that helped. Really, when my nausea got the worst was when like I not forgot, but like November and October were so busy for me for work that like sometimes it's just like I don't have time to make food, and I like just got so busy that I forgot, and then by that time I like missed lunch, and then when I ate after missing lunch it made me super nauseous. So that is my tip. Make sure you're eating throughout the day. Don't like go a long bout without eating because it sucks after. And then also people were saying to do like crackers at the beginning of the day. I don't know, just for me I just like couldn't picture getting up and like eating a cracker. That just made me like makes me feel like I'd be more sick. So how did you two decide this was the right time to have a family? What was the trigger? So I feel like I kind of answered it when I talked about, did I always plan to have a family young? Essentially, when Travis started talking about it, a couple months after we got married, he was like joking about it, but I was actually like starting to think about it too, and I wasn't ready. I was like, you know what? I need more time to like get comfortable with where I am, with being married, owning a house, having my own business. I just need to make sure I feel more secure and comfortable with where I am, and before like we take it the next step. And then, like over the last year, things just fell into place. Like I felt very comfortable with where we were. Oh, I got comfortable enough that like I felt okay like when he decided to start a new career path. And at that point I was like, hey, you know what? Like if we can do this, I'm ready for a kid. He's been ready for a kid for a while now. So it was more like I needed to get my shit together and like just be in that mindset. So that trigger was more just like not having too many questions, not being like, what if, being like, oh gosh, like what if this happens, what if that happens, what if this happens? Like those were, like I just had so many more worries last year when we were originally talking about it. And then this year when we started talking about it, I was like, no, like I'm ready. Like I almost like felt impatient that we waited this long, what if it doesn't happen right away? So that made me feel like I was ready and I knew he was ready. So I guess that was the trigger. How many kids? So I am one of 3, the oldest of 3. My husband is oldest of 2. He wants like 4 kids. Max, I was always thinking 3, but I don't know if you guys remember, like back in the day, at least for me, like there's that trick with the necklace when you have like the necklace and like you hold it over your palm. I don't remember if it has to be like silver or gold, but you hold it so that it holds still over your palm and then it will start moving in a straight line or in a circle. So like basically what starts moving in one of those ways, you stop it and then you do it again and then you keep doing it until it stops. So whenever I would do it, it would always give me a boy first and then it would give me a girl and it stopped. So I feel like I could potentially only have 2 kids. I don't know, we'll see. But I feel comfortable with 3. If 4 happens, we would just need a bigger house and I would maybe need some help because 4 kids sounds like a lot and I still want to like work. Still want to like keep creating content and I don't know, 4 kids just seems like a lot. But that's something that I feel like I will have a better grasp on once like we actually have 1 kid. So like we can actually determine like what we want because it's hard to say. Travis can say he wants like 10 kids. He hasn't had a kid, so how does he know? Did you take prenatal vitamins? Which kind? They're actually right here. I have to put them in front of me when I eat because you have to take it with food and I don't normally take pills, so I always forget. So I'm taking these ones. And I took them like a couple, like basically when we started trying. And I started taking DHA as well because I don't have like that much fish. And then, which one's the French side? And then I also started taking some calcium because I don't drink that much milk. Like I drink milk, but you're supposed to have like 3 cups of milk every day to get the amount of calcium you need. And that's just like a lot. That's just too much milk for me. So I'm having supplements to help with that process. What are our favorite names? So like I said, we have like a list of them. None of them like really come to mind. Like we had one that we really liked, but it's also someone I know's dog's name. So I feel like when that happens, all you can think about is like it's a dog's name. So I don't think we're gonna use that. And also it's kind of like a funkier name. And our last name is Squinya. It's a hard enough name to spell and say. I don't really want our kid to have like too hard of a name so that the teacher's like not able to pronounce either one. So we're gonna try to stick with like a more classic name, I think. So were you scared at all going through this process? If so, how did you get past it? So I don't know, I'm gonna split it into like trying to conceive and actually knowing I was pregnant because I don't know which part you mean. So trying to conceive, like the whole time I was like, is this even gonna happen? Because they're like, you just hear so many stories about infertility and troubles conceiving and troubles keeping a baby, right? So I think that was just like stuck in my mind and I was just always worried about it. So I was a little scared that it wasn't gonna happen for us, even though it hadn't really been very long, but I'm such a planner and I'm such like a person that likes to know what's gonna happen, that getting pregnant is a game of chance, right? So I just like, I didn't feel as comfortable doing that without knowing, you know? So I guess a little bit I was a little scared. And then when we found out we were pregnant, I was actually like so scared because I didn't know if the baby was healthy. Even now, after we did that DNA test, like there's so many things that can go wrong. And I guess I'm a worrier, that just comes with my personality. Definitely was more scared at the beginning, especially before the first trimester because the chances of miscarriages are just so much higher. So that was always in my, like in the back of my mind, definitely affected me a little bit in terms of my mental health. Yes. I definitely am scared, always scared, but now I'm less scared just because I'm further along and just like knowing like that the chromosomal disorders are taken care of, that hopefully everything else will be fine. So we'll see. The 20-week ultrasound is supposed to tell like a lot more. They're like, get ready to be there for an hour. So I'm like, an hour? Like, what are you looking at for an hour? Who knows? Have at it. Let me know as much information as I can about the baby. So yeah, how did I get past it? Right now at this point, I don't think I'm gonna get past it until I know the baby is like gonna be in my arms, can see it, and know that it has healthy life ahead of it. And even then, there's SIDS and there's just the world. So I guess this is parenthood, right? This is what everyone says. Like, it just gets worse and worse. So it's learning how to deal with stress, I guess. Any cravings that you didn't expect or previously disliked? I'm not eating anything that I previously disliked, but I'm not eating chicken now that I used to eat all the time. It's not so much like I eat my chicken nuggets because, hey, they're fried. But chicken breast, we used to have it once or twice a week. Haven't touched it since the first trimester. I had it one time and like really triggered my morning sickness. It was the texture and the smell for me. Very interesting. And Travis's mom had that same aversion when she was pregnant. So I guess like maybe it's the squinya gene. Who knows? Are you doing any prenatal workouts? So yeah, my sister suggested Melissa Wood Health, so I have that app and I've been doing that every so often. I'm still doing like my regular yoga classes online, but like sometimes, like I can definitely tell that I'll have to switch it up a little bit soon, just because like sometimes when I'm bending, like the belly, you know, even though it's not that big, I don't know what being dramatic or something, it just doesn't feel as comfortable anymore. How many weeks were you when you found out you were pregnant? So I found out October 1st, and I had originally thought that I was 4 weeks pregnant at that point, but I was actually 5. So I found out at 5 weeks. Do you find that your skin flare-ups have disappeared in your pregnancy? You're glowing. Thank you. So it's really hard to pinpoint if it's a pregnancy or not, or it just happened to be a good year for my skin, because it was like September when I conceived, and last year I traveled to Japan and to Thailand during like the next couple months, which I feel like really affected my flare-ups because I was in a plane for like 2 back and forth, like across the world like flights, and that was really drying on my skin, and I think that really like messed up my skin barrier. So I don't know, like did it take a year for it to like recalibrate? Is it the pregnancy that helped clear up all those issues, like the hormones, the extra estrogen levels, the extra progesterone, the extra testosterone, like helped fix everything? It's hard to tell. I personally think so, because I can eat gluten again and I'm not having these like flare-ups. The only thing that's like coming up is like I'm getting like kind of red dots under my skin. They're not pimples, but it's like almost like veins, and that's part of like a pregnancy symptom, like where like your capillaries will start to expand because you're like there's so much more blood flow going through your body, and so I feel like that just like might be happening on my face. But I need to end this here. I have a couple more questions, but I feel like I got the gist of it. The camera is flashing red saying the battery's about to die, so I'm just gonna end this here. Thank you so much for watching this Q&A. If you have more questions about the first trimester that I might have missed, or how the second trimester is going, leave them down in the description box below. Like the video, subscribe to my channel, follow me on Instagram, and I will see you so soon.